Hey everyone, welcome. Today, we're going to dive into something that trips up a lot of people in Azure DevOps, mastering access control. We're going to break down how to manage who can do what, why they can do it, and maybe most importantly, how to keep an eye on the costs while you do it. So let's jump right in.
It's the classic struggle, isn't it? You want your teams moving fast, you want them to have all the access they need to just get stuff done. But at the same time, you've got to think about security, you have to watch the budget. It can seriously feel like a constant tug of war between letting people run and keeping things safe and sound.
But what if I told you there's a really straightforward way to bring some order to that chaos? It really all comes down to understanding three key pillars: membership, permissions, and access levels. I promise, if you get these three right, you've pretty much mastered Azure DevOps access control. So here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll dig a little deeper into that access control challenge. Then we'll break down each of those three pillars one by one. After that, we'll see how it all works together in a real-world example, and then wrap up with a solid governance strategy you can actually use. Let's get real about the challenge for a second. Right out of the box, Azure DevOps can be, well, a little too generous with permissions. For instance, a standard contributor can delete branches or even mess with build pipelines. And those are probably actions you want to lock down. It's this constant balancing act, right? Give too much access, you've got security holes. Give too little, and your team can't get anything done. Finding that sweet spot is everything. Okay, let's tackle our first pillar, membership. This is the foundation of it all. And it's really about answering one simple question. Who are the people using our system? Now, you could try to manage every single person one by one, but look, that's just a recipe for disaster. It takes forever, it's super easy to make a mistake, and it just doesn't scale as your team gets bigger. The right way, the best practice, is to manage access through groups. That way, you're managing a role, like developer, not a specific person. It's way more efficient. And the secret sauce here, the real game changer, is hooking up Azure DevOps to Azure Active Directory, which is now called Microsoft Entra ID. This is huge because it gives you one single place to manage all your user identities. When someone joins a company, IT just adds them to an AAD group, and boom, their Azure DevOps permissions are all set. And even better, when they leave, IT removes them from that one group, and poof, their access is gone. It's clean, it's automated, and frankly, it's the only way to do this right. Okay, so we figured out the who. That brings us to pillar number 2, permissions. This is all about answering the next question. What can these people actually do? Now, if you remember just one thing about permissions, make it this: deny always wins. It doesn't matter if a user is in 10 groups that say allow. If just one group says deny, then access is denied. End of story. Seriously, think of it as your ultimate safety net for making sure your security policies are enforced, no exceptions. The good news is Azure DevOps doesn't just throw you in the deep end, it gives you some great built-in security groups to start with. You've got your project admins, who can do everything. You've got contributors, which is where most of your team will live. And you have readers, for folks who just need to see what's going on. These defaults will get you most of the way there. All right, on to our third and final pillar. And folks, this is the big one. This is the one that hits your wallet: assigning licenses. This is what decides which features a user can actually use and what you end up paying for. Okay, let's clear something up right now, because this trips people up all the time. In the world of Azure DevOps, when you see access level, just think license. They are the exact same thing. It's the switch that turns on features for your users. And this is where you can really be smart about your spending. First up, you've got the Stakeholder license. This one's free. It's perfect for your product owners, managers, anyone who needs to check in on progress but isn't writing code. Then you have the Basic license. This is the paid one for most of your developers, giving them everything they need. And finally, Basic plus Test Plans is for your QA folks who need those specialized testing tools. Matching the role to the right license is how you control costs. So we've talked about these three pillars: membership, permissions, and licenses in theory. But what does this look like in the real world? Let's walk through a super common scenario: bringing a new developer onto the team. This is where it all just clicks. Look how smooth this is. Step 1, that's our membership pillar. The new dev gets added to an AAD group. Step 2, permissions. That group syncs up and they instantly get the contributor rights they need. And step 3, licensing. An admin gives them a basic license and all their tools are unlocked. It's clean, it's automated, and it's ready to scale. Okay, so you've got the concepts down. How do you turn this into a real governance strategy that can grow with your organization and, not fall apart in 6 months? Let's go over the key best practices. So let's boil it all down. If you walk away with anything today, it should be this. Manage your people with Azure AD groups, manage their actions with group-based permissions, and manage your costs by assigning the right license. Stick with the default groups to start, tweak them if you need to, and please, every once in a while, audit everything to make sure it's still secure.
And I really want this next idea to stick with you. Instead of getting bogged down in manual checklists and approval emails that just slow everyone down, you want to build your governance into the system itself. Make it a policy, not just a process. This whole 3-pillar framework is a perfect example of that. It sets up guardrails that let your teams move fast without breaking things.
And that really brings us to the final, big picture question for you to take back to your team. How can your organization find that sweet spot, that perfect balance between giving teams the freedom to innovate while keeping the central control you need for security and compliance? You've got the framework now to start answering that.